Bitcoin is bouncing. Those penny stocks are pumping. We're going to take a look at the best penny stocks to buy now, and we'll talk about some of the background market bias that we see as well. I do want to jump right in the charts on this one to be respectful of your time, and as always, market bias first, and then into the penny stocks that follow. So, what exactly are we seeing? So, IWM tracking the Russell 2000 small cap stocks, which is where we find that risky stuff. And the penny stocks are even smaller than that. So what we see right now is we're pushing back up above the 5 and the 13. We're getting near that toppy part of the market. However, let's look at a few other things. SPY trying to break onto new all-time highs. A push up above here is a very good thing. This could be very bullish for us if we're able to break up above this peak. And you can see in the pre-market hours this morning, this orange line across is where we're at the pre-market. We got to keep pushing, and we want to take over 674 for SPY in order to see a further climb from here. And so the pre-market at least is so far shaping up that it could do that for us. And then same thing for the Qs. Now the Qs are actually in the pre-market here up above these previous peaks. So if we're able to sustain that, this could be a very good day for us. When we go over to Bitcoin, we're seeing that bounce off the 200-day. I said watch for that for major support. So far, we've been unable to really truly stay down below it, and the retests of it have failed to hold up as resistance. So instead, we're seeing support for right now. We're up above the 5 and 13 as I record this video. If we're able to push up above the 50, this could be very good for us. After that retest in the 200, this could be the start of a major move if we're able to see a pushback in the other direction. As long as we don't get any sort of big negative news that snaps the market back the other way for some reason, this could be that opportunity that we find in crypto. And then also with the risk assets moving like they are right now, the penny stocks are also having a pretty darn good morning so far in the pre-market hours. So bigbear.ai, how's it doing? Well, let's take a look to see where it went, and then we'll take a look to see where it's going. So we actually got a touch on the 50, held it, and now look, we gapped down, or I should say that when we opened down, and dropping from that. Yeah, we closed it, and then this next one. But if we gap up today, that's a very bullish thing, bouncing off the 50 EMA. Watch for a cross back up above 50 for the RSI as well. And if we drop down to the hourly chart, what do we see for that? Well, what you see is this line that goes right down through here. That line, if you want to think about it as a trend off the top of these peaks, this most recent part that you see is sort of like a backwards check mark, or maybe you're somebody who makes your check marks backwards. I don't know. In any case, this last part is a structural break to the upside that we saw starting yesterday in the pre-market and continuing throughout the day yesterday. This could be that turnaround point that we're seeing. It's going to be very similar when we look at RZLV, ONDS, and NVTS, and I'll also cover BEEM in this video as well. Now for RZLV, ticker symbols in the back here, Resolve AI PLC, look at that touch on the 200 EMA, and then the long bottom wick we got off of that, some buying pressure following, and now we're moving up again. We got to be careful for what's north of that from a technical perspective, because we got to get back over the 5, which is this green moving average, the 50, and then this yellow 13 right here. Yellow 13 crossing down over red 50 is a bearish sign. We got to be careful for that. But we're above the 200. That is longer term of bullishness that we're seeing. The RSI is still sort of weak, sitting down at 38.66. So that's the bearish momentum that we're currently seeing right now. So RZLV has its work cut out for it, but look at the run that we made from when we broke out from this level right here, about just over $3 per share, took this thing all the way up to, what was that peak at? $8.45. Huge move. And then we have like this triangular sort of formation, a descending wedge pattern, if you will. This is something that could reverse back the other direction, and we could see a nice little price pop going back up. We have lower highs and lower lows, so this thing definitely in the decline. But this could be that turnaround spot that we see back on Wednesday, pushing back up here, and the market bias is so far at its back. It's a very good thing. Before we move on to ONDS, let me drop down to the hourly, show you what we're seeing. Once again, this looks a lot like what we saw for BigBear.ai stock. Now, mind you, here is the trend line, and look at that break up above. This is that structural break that I was talking about. We got a lot of ground to recover for RZLV. This could be that early start of it if we're able to see, at least on this hourly chart, the 5 crossing over the 50. The same thing about the 13, almost crossing over the 50. We'll see if we get that retest coming up here right about 451 for support on the 13. And if we can push up higher, then we got to watch for that $5 mark up above that. So for RZLV, we had that structural break as well. For ONDS stock, this one pulled back just below its 50 EMA, but it has quickly recovered up above it, and now it's trading just north in the pre-market above its 5 EMA as of yesterday's moving average value. So that's what we see right there. And if we're able to push up higher above this, we want to keep that 5 or above the 50 or above the 200. This could significantly recover some of the price that's lost. This thing was up over $11 per share, and since that time has given back $4 of that. So a 40%-ish drop back down below the 50, and now I think that we're starting to see a bounce back the other way. We've got to watch for that shelf that's at $8.15, and also that 13 is at $8.21. And if we drop down to the hourly chart, reset the view, there we go. We have, let me see if I have the trend line on here for you. There we go. There's that break that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, we got that. It filled out, but things are turning around. If we move it to a longer term trend and look at this, you can still see that same structural break coming up this way. I'm going to move out some of these trend lines. They still have their validity, but this is the one I want to focus on right now. We are underneath this price action for ONDS, but if we get a strong move from the market today, we should be able to push up through that and have a nice green day beyond what we see in the pre-market this morning. After having about 4.75% yesterday, we're up about 6.37% in the pre-market this morning. So we could pull back a little bit and then see rocket ships, or it could just be a straight up rocket ship. NVTS, what are we seeing for this one? There we go, reset that. We saw a big old tumble off this one, and for this one, where do we see that top come in? That top came in all the way at $17.79. And there's a lot of technicals on here, and then we could talk about those. But what you could see nearby for this is that we need to get back up above the 5. We could most definitely do that. We want to see a break above this previous candle that we have right here, certainly above 14.29 if we're going to see a further recovery. And that was a very nice reset that we got on that pullback to the 13 EMA. So just to focus on the EMAs for a moment, there you go. We were gapped up above the 5 and the 13, and then we got that pushback to the 13, returned, and now we're starting to see that bounce, that energy come back. We'll see if we can push up even higher from here. Like I said, having the market bias with us can be a very good thing. So if the market stays bullish, these penny stocks should also have their day in the sun. So that trip to the moon, whatever you want to call it. And we see very early signs of a structural break here for NVTS, although we see that sideways movement, very low trading volume. We do want to push up. It looks like that number is 1482 that we actually want to push above. Not only does that get us above the intraday, or I should say the pre-market peaks and what we see over here going to yesterday's market open, but we also want to see some of that movement up above the bottom of this structure right here. So it looks like sitting on top of 1482 is that exact number that we want to get on top of. Rejection. Last 2 times we tried, we got rejected on that one. And so let's wrap things up with BEEM. BEEM, I'm telling you, this thing, man, look at that big old turnaround that we've had, this double bottom that we saw, the ramp that came off on that, and now this time, even though it popped up above there and got big fat rejection, we touched the 200. That was the first major retest that we got for support there. This, if the energy is still there with the stock, we could see major movement from that. So the volumes have been great, not quite as great as what we saw back here. That was a wild day to see that sort of movement with the volume. There we go. We do need to return back to bullish territory. So the volumes have been subdued a little bit in relative terms from what we saw before, but they're way above what they were before that. So watch for this volume. We want to see volume confirmation come back into this for BEEM, BEEM stock as we look at it. Guys, you can see any transactions that I make over at the Discord, as well as other technicals that are over there, and a community of thousands of members, and the panel experts, and live tradings on Tuesdays, Thursdays, AI tools, advanced charting tools, you name it. It's an entire ecosystem there to support you in your journey towards financial freedom and building alpha in your portfolio. I believe the 3-day free trial is still active when you sign up, and after that, it's a little over $2 a day, but you can try it out risk-free, cancel at any time. And I'll tell you what, guys, there's a reason that thousands of members are over there already. Come on over and join us. We'd love to have you over there. Guys, thanks for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. I'll see you next video.